I used to believe I had the kind of relationship people envied. She was funny, quick-witted, and had this magnetic energy that made everyone around her light up. When she looked at me, I felt chosen like out of everyone in the world. She picked me. We had been together for nearly 2 years, and I was sure she was the one. I pictured a future with her, a house, kids, the messy but beautiful chaos of building a life together. She told me the same. That's why the first lie was so easy for me to miss. It was a Friday night. She came up behind me, wrapped her arms around my waist, and said she was going out with her girlfriends. Nothing unusual. She said they needed a girls' night, just dinner, drinks, maybe a spa trip. I smiled, kissed her on the forehead, and told her to have fun. But something about the way she avoided my eyes lingered in the back of my mind, just for a second, quick, fleeting but enough to plant a tiny seed of unease. I brushed it off. She had never given me a reason not to trust her. Why would I start now? Or maybe I just didn't want to see the truth. Asterisk. I used to believe I had the kind of relationship people envied. She was funny, quick-witted, and had this magnetic energy that made everyone around her light up. When she looked at me, I felt chosen like out of everyone in the world. She picked me. We had been together for nearly 2 years, and I was sure she was the one. I pictured a future with her, a house, kids, the messy but beautiful chaos of building a life together. She told me the same. That's why the first lie was so easy for me to miss. It was a Friday night. She came up behind me, wrapped her arms around my waist, and said she was going out with her girlfriends. Nothing unusual. She said they needed a girls' night, just dinner, drinks, maybe a spa trip. I smiled, kissed her on the forehead, and told her to have fun. But something about the way she avoided my eyes lingered in the back of my mind, just for a second, quick, fleeting but enough to plant a tiny seed of unease. I brushed it off. She had never given me a reason not to trust her. Why would I start now? Or maybe I just didn't want to see the truth. Asterisk. 2 weeks later, it happened again. Another girls' night. Another story about drinks, laughter, and sleepovers. This time, I didn't let it slide so easily. I asked questions. Harmless ones at first. What bar did they go to? What movie did they watch after? Who drove? She answered them all without hesitation. Too quickly, too smoothly, like she'd written a script. And that's when I realized her stories were perfect. Too perfect. Real nights out are messy. Plans change. Memories blur. But hers, every detail was crisp, rehearsed, airtight. It was the kind of perfection only a liar could pull off. That night, as she curled up beside me, her head resting on my chest, I couldn't focus on the warmth of her skin or the rhythm of her breathing. My mind kept circling the same thought. If she can lie this easily, what else is she hiding? The next morning, I decided to test her. I told her I was going to work late, then left the house earlier than usual. Instead of heading to the office, I parked my car 2 blocks away from her apartment and waited. Hours crawled by. My nerves were raw, every sound outside making me jump. But then, just as the sun began to sink, I saw her. She stepped out of the building, dressed to kill, tight black dress, heels that made her legs look endless, hairstyled like she was meeting someone special. And she wasn't alone. At first, I thought it was just some random guy. Tall, broad shoulders, the kind of presence that made me shrink into the shadows. They walked close to close. He touched the small of her back, and she didn't flinch. She leaned into it. Then my blood ran cold. I knew him. He wasn't a stranger. He wasn't some random fling. He was my cousin. Asterisk. I sat frozen in the car, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. My own cousin. The man who grew up playing video games with me, eating at my family's table, sharing holidays and secrets. And here he was, touching the woman I thought I'd spend my life with. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. I watched them laugh as they walked down the street together, disappearing into a restaurant I'd once taken her to for our anniversary. That place was ours at least. I thought it was. Part of me wanted to storm in right then, rip the tablecloth out from under their perfect little dinner, and watch everything crash to the floor. But another part of me, colder, sharper, told me to wait, to watch, to collect proof. So I did. I took photos, grainy, shaky ones, from the window of my car. Her smile, his hand on hers, the way she looked at him, the exact way she used to look at me. Every image cut deeper, but I didn't stop. That night, I didn't confront her. Instead, I pretended nothing happened. She came home late, smelling faintly of wine and cologne that wasn't mine. She slipped into bed beside me, kissed me goodnight like she hadn't just given herself to someone else, and I let her, because now this wasn't just about heartbreak. This was about betrayal, and betrayal deserved patience. I started paying attention to everything. Every time she picked up her phone and turned the screen away, every unexplained girls' night, every lie she told without blinking. The more I watched, the more the cracks spread. Her stories didn't line up. Her best friend avoided my questions. And my cousin, he suddenly had excuses not to come around, not to see me, not to be part of the family gatherings he once never missed. They thought they were clever, but I was watching, and I was done ignoring the truth. The hardest part wasn't pretending everything was fine. It was pretending I didn't already know. Every morning, I watched her pour coffee into my mug, kiss me on the cheek, and tell me she loved me. And every morning, I forced myself to smile back, even though my stomach twisted at the thought of whose lips she'd kissed before mine. She thought she was winning, that I was blind. But inside, I was cataloging everything, every lie, every excuse, every late night text she thought I didn't hear buzzing on her nightstand. And then came the first real mistake. One night, she told me she was working late. I nodded, smiled, kissed her goodbye. The moment the door closed, I followed. I kept my headlights off, my distance measured, my breathing steady. She didn't go to the office. She didn't even go anywhere near it. Instead, she drove across town to a quiet neighborhood where the houses leaned close together like conspirators whispering secrets. I parked 2 streets down, walked the rest of the way, my heart hammering with every step. And there it was, my cousin's car, parked in front of a house I didn't recognize. I should have gone in, should have ripped the door off its hinges and dragged them both out into the street for the whole world to see. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I pulled out my phone and snapped photos. Her car, his car, the house, a timeline, a map of betrayal I could use later. Proof. Hours passed. My legs ached. My hands went numb in the night air. But I stayed, because the longer I waited, the more undeniable the truth became when they finally emerged. Her hair was messy, her laugh too soft, his hand on the small of her back like he owned her, like I'd never existed. I ducked behind a tree, my chest burning with a fury I couldn't let out yet. She leaned into him, whispered something that made him grin, and they kissed, slow, intimate, shameless. And in that moment, I wasn't angry. I wasn't even sad. I was cold, because now I knew for sure. And when you know, you don't act out of rage. You act out of certainty. When she finally came home that night, she smelled like his cologne again. She slipped under the covers, pressed her face against my chest, and sighed like she was exhausted from work. I stroked her hair, kissed her forehead, and whispered, "I'm glad you're home." But in my mind, I was already building the end. The night I confronted her, I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just laid the photos on the table of her car. His car, their kiss, her face drained of color, lips parting like she was about to beg. But I raised my hand and stopped her. "No more lies," I said. "You chose him, so live with him." And then I walked out quiet, steady, and free. Because sometimes revenge isn't fire, it's silence. And silence is the one thing she'll never escape. Asterisk.